A huge shout out to Billy Kills for supporting the channel on Patreon. Glenn, the voice of Calm, versus Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. We've got Search to Asconta. We'll just have to hope our opponent doesn't get off to a really fast start, which he probably will because it's Golos. Alright, yeah, my opponent just assuming that we've got a really powerful deck here and deciding to concede on turn 1, so I think we won't play against my opponent again. Trying again against Pir Imaginative Rascal this time, and again it's not an incredible hand, but we will keep. And they get themselves into a Fyndhorn Elves on turn 1. That will tap for... yeah, it'll tap for blue if we have a Plains. So we'll just drop the Plains, probably go for Open the Armory next turn. And it's Kodama's Reach from our opponent. So in that case, well, we've got some decent equipments already. Do we just want to go for... yeah, let's just cast the Jitte here. And then Explosive Vegetation from our opponent gets them into even more mana. And then another Mana Dork for our opponent. And we get into a means of making an island, so let's get down the dual land here. And I think we're okay to play our Glen. Then they cast Primeval Titan, excellent, so might be that they've got your typical 2-land combo in here. No, it is the Mystifying Maze and the Khan's Bastion. And they go for Mana Vault down to 2 cards in hand. Alright, Dovin's Veto for us. I think we're just going for the Umezawa's Jitte. And we'll just have to let them swing in with the Primeval Titan, I think. Let's attack. They decide to let it through. So we get to draw a card with Glen. And we will also get a couple of counters on the Jitte. Alright, that's a land to make. Let's go for the -1 on the Fyndhorn Elves. And then we can hold up Mana Drain, I think. They go straight through to combat, and it is Primeval Titan for another couple of lands. We'll probably have to go for Imprisoned in the Moon on that next turn. Alright, doesn't seem as though they've got combos. They've got Mosswort Bridge and the Aurum Reef, the Vastwood. And I think it's 10 power they need for this. Yeah, 10 power or greater in total. And they hit us for 6, obviously. Let's see which cards they've got left. Alright, Runic Armasaur. Yeah, don't particularly care about that. Alright, going through to the end of the turn. Let's put a minus counter on the Boreal Druid. Or it's -1/-1. And Solemn Simulacrum for us. I think we can just hold up the counter magic again. They're probably just going to go for Mystifying Maze onto us. We need to tap for blue mana, which means we actually can't hold up the Mana Drain. We can hold up Dovin's Veto though. So we'll just have to do that. So we'll go for Imprisoned in the Moon onto the Primeval Titan. And then in order to keep them from removing the Umezawa's Jitte from our Glen, I think we'll just hold back on that. And we'll hold up the Dovin's Veto this time. Now playing out a Forgotten Ancient for a bunch of plus counters for whenever we cast spells. And they put a plus counter on there with the Aurum Reef, the Vastwood, still leaving a card in hand. Yeah, so maybe we have to stop holding up counter magic at this point. Really need rid of that Mystifying Maze. Alright, Cyclonic Rift. Yeah, let's go Solemn Simulacrum in for a blue mana, I think, because we seem to be missing our land drops, unfortunately. Plus counter goes on the Forgotten Ancient. And I think we're going to need to make use of Open the Armory to go in for the Swiftfoot Boots as well. So luckily our opponent's in top deck mode. We've got a little bit of time to mess around, but we have sort of taken a couple of turns off thanks to holding up counter spells. Yeah, we'll just continue to hold back our Glen. Now they make use of the Khan's Bastion and put a plus counter on the Forgotten Ancient. They put some plus counters on the Runic Armor Saw now. Luckily we've got some life gain in the Loxodon Warhammer, so yeah, I think we're definitely going to make use of the Swiftfoot Boots. Our opponent goes for Freyalise, Llanowar's Fury. As soon as I don't hold up the counter magic, they're going for that. So getting rid of the Jitte. I think we're beyond making use of Jitte now anyway. Could use it to buff Glen in response to getting through with our attacks, but yeah, don't think we're going to get through with those either thanks to the maze. Then they go for Pir Imaginative Rascal. So they can proliferate a bunch of plus counters, or twice as many plus and loyalty counters now. They've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When they proliferate, they'll be able to go for the Mosswort Bridge as well. So they swing in with the Armor Saw and the Forgotten Ancient, and pulling the Forgotten Ancient back. Yeah, I think we want to draw a card here, so we'll block with Solemn Simulacrum. Get ourselves into Hyena Umbra. And All That Glitters. Okay, so let's go for Open the Armory. Put a counter on the Forgotten Ancient. And I think we definitely need to try and get rid of Freyalise here. I don't know if we'll be able to, though. How can we do this? They can put a couple of plus counters on her, which means he needs to have +2 to his power. And if he has +2 to his power, then that means that... what is the minus on this? -2. -2, so we could go for... Yeah, we could go for Swiftfoot Boots and Hyena Umbra. They could always proliferate on their turn and then still minus down the Freyalise, but I think we just have to go for something here. And once we've bought ourselves a little bit of time, there's nothing to stop us going for Cyclonic Rift and then countering some of their stuff anyway, so we'll go Hyena Umbra onto Glen. Might be that they can just attack straight into us next turn and get rid of us, but we definitely need to get rid of Freyalise anyway, because we need the Swiftfoot Boots in play. So I imagine they go for Khan's Bastion in response here. Yeah, there it is. So proliferating a bunch of stuff. They'll get 2 plus counters per proliferation. And yeah, they've probably got lethal on us next turn actually. That is 17. They just proliferate on us next turn and go wide, so yeah, that's us done here. Just concentrating too much on holding up counter magic, I think, when we should have just been a bit more aggressive with Glen. That would have bought us some more time. But our opponent, yeah, making use of the Forgotten Ancient, its ability doubles up the plus counters as well. For each 1 counter it removes from itself and puts it onto something else with its own ability. For each 1 it takes off, it puts 2 on another creature. So, yeah, our opponent's got us here. If they go through to combat, then I will take it. But they're just activating stuff, so we will concede there. And yeah, there we go. They've got a very potent Pir Imaginative Rascals deck there. They seem to run very low on cards in the early game due to all the ramp and stuff, but then if they make good top decks, it's very similar to Azusa in that, by the looks of it. If you ramp out like crazy, you can afford anything that you draw into. You just have to actually make the draws. And yeah, our opponent did there, so a very good win from our opponent. On to the next one. Glen the Voice of Calm versus Muldrotha the Gravetide, with potentially some fast mana there. Let's keep that. Yeah, we're going to have to get into Azorius Signet first though, aren't we? I do like Imprisoned in the Moon. On to Muldrotha though. So let's just throw out an island and pass. Luckily there was no fast mana from our opponent, which makes a nice change of pace in the 1v1 room. Let's throw out the Signet and pass. Talisman of Dominance from our opponent. That is a Sphinx's Revelation. Let's just go for Minamo, and I think we're going in for the Glen here. We'll use the Enlightened Tutor to get an equipment into play. So we'll put a stop on the upkeep for that. Getting down a Breeding Pool in tapped, and going for Cyclonic Rift onto our commander to buy themselves a bit of time. So I'm not sure if we're going to go for the Enlightened Tutor here then, because we have to lose 2 mana in order to do that. Yeah, let's just concentrate on getting our Glen into play again. Okay, a Wasteland, that could hurt our opponent. I imagine they can cede to a Wasteland though. We'll just see how spiky they are first. I find it difficult to remember all the different players on Magic Online. Tatyova, Benthic Druid for our opponent. That might need to eat an Imprisoned in the Moon on its own. Yeah, I'm not sure really. We'll lose the mana to the Enlightened Tutor. Maybe we just go for fast mana here. Can't go for anything white, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe we just go for fast mana so that we can set up a Sphinx's Rev. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that instead. So let's go for the Sol Ring. Then, before we play the Wasteland, I want to try and get into a Plains at some point this game, because it is affecting what we can actually do. So we'll swing in with Glen. And they can't block thanks to Skulk, so we will draw a card. Alright, Dovin's Veto, yet again. Can't do anything with Dovin's Veto. Let's play Sol Ring, and we'll put Imprisoned in the Moon onto the Tatyova, because they don't really have anything in the graveyard, so Muldrotha isn't all that threatening yet. And then with that, they can go into Muldrotha, so I don't think there's all that much point in going for the Wasteland. We'll just have to leave it at that and hope that we can actually get something going at some point this game. Alright, they had a land to make anyway, so either way, if we'd gone for the Wasteland or not, they could have gone in for Muldrotha. So I'm glad that we didn't use the Wasteland there. And there is Muldrotha the Gravetide, 4 cards in hand. And it's a Loxodon Warhammer for us, which doesn't help at the moment because Muldrotha is in the way. We'll still be able to block that, so let's just swing in with Glen. Okay, Sigarda's Aid is really good. But once again, we're screwed on the white mana front. Do they have a 1 mana counter spell, a Spell Pierce or something like that? I'd like to make a land this turn with the Sphinx's Rev, but we should use it on our opponent's turn really. If they've got counter magic, we want them to use it on their own turn. And this way we get to hold up Dovin's Veto as well. So yeah, Sigarda's Aid would be really nice, but can't go for it thanks to our wonky mana. Sheoldred the Whispering One, okay. So we're going to have to try and get into something here. Let's just tap all this down in response. X is 5, so we'll gain X life, draw X cards, and yeah, we were still a couple of cards away from getting into white mana. I very much like the Darksteel Mutation onto either one of these, to be honest. We're going to have to sacrifice our Glen, unfortunately, but we will be able to bring it back in with Swiftfoot Boots. Yeah, not sure what to do here. I think it has to be Darksteel Mutation onto the Sheoldred. So we're forced to sacrifice our Glen. And then we draw into Duelist's Heritage. Let's throw down the Mystic Gate. And I think it has to be the Darksteel Mutation onto Sheoldred. And then we can go. Mystic Gate makes a couple of white mana, which can get our Glen back into play. We can't hold up. That's why the mana was so important earlier on. If we could have had Sigarda's Aid out already, then we could have played Swiftfoot Boots at instant speed in response to any kind of targeted removal. But unfortunately, we have not been able to get into any decent colours. We're still not incredible with the way we are now. But hopefully we can leave Glen in play for a turn. Now a Muldrifter for our opponent. They'll draw a couple of cards. And an Abzan Beastmaster, which will draw them into cards at the beginning of their upkeep. I imagine they're going to turn sideways at us here. Not much point in going for Wasteland onto one of their lands because they can just play it with the Muldrotha. So we're down to 12 commander damage here. Okay, Trophy Mage. We've got All That Glitters. I think Swiftfoot Boots is the first port of call, so let's throw that out. Sigarda's Aid, we'll throw that on, which will save us a mana. Then I think we're okay to go for Duelist's Heritage. And we'll get down the Loxodon Warhammer as well. Again, I don't think we've made a land this turn actually, so maybe we'll be able to hold up the Dovin's Veto. There's every chance that they could get double strike or double the power of Muldrotha, something like that, and get us on commander damage, but I think we just have to try our best to stay in this one here by turning Glen sideways. They may well double block just so that they can recast their creatures. They'll want to recast Muldrotha. I'm not too sure about the Abzan Beastmaster. Anyway, turning sideways at them. Our Glen will get double strike, so it's a 4-3 with Hexproof, Trample and Lifelink. And they can block because they've got creatures with less power than Glen. So blocking with the Sheoldred just to block some damage there. We'll keep our Glen in play as the blocks are now. Yeah, that's alright. So we get, I think it was only 1 through thanks to the Muldrifter, but then we've got double strike damage. Yeah, there's Mana Drain, that's good. So we can hold up both Dovin's Veto and Mana Drain. And that's 7 points of commander damage. We've also got a Tutor, which might help us to push through commander damage ourselves. Let's throw out the Windswept Teeth. That can get us into a duel. Yeah, so we might be able to get them next turn. But they may well be able to get us as well. They draw a card with the Abzan Beastmaster. They can replay Muldrotha this turn as well. Nissa Vastwood Seer, that's fine. Followed by an Oracle of Muldaya. We're probably looking at Holy Mantle next turn because it is protection from creatures. So I'm hoping the way things are going now, we'll just be able to buff Glen enough to get lethal on them next turn with commander damage. They flip their Nissa around anyway. Then it's a 3 visits to shuffle the land on top away. I've gotten into Urborg as well, by the way. Then revealing the top card with Nissa gets them into the Flooded Strand, another land on top for them. But they can shuffle it away, and they do. And now it's Acidic Slime, which they could draw into, but I'm not sure they'll be able to cast it. They go through to combat, turning the Muldrotha sideways at us. We are certainly not going to give that double strike. That would end the game for us. So at the end of the turn, we are at 18 commander, 25 life, go down to 24 with the Windswept Heath. Grab ourselves the dual land that we could have done with much sooner than now. And I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about this, so let's go for the All That Glitters. At the end of the turn, we can do that with Sigarda's Aid. That sends Glen up to a 13-12, so that should be enough on its own. But we will put protection from creatures on Glen with the Holy Mantle. Drop an island first. We've got another counterspell. Make double white with the Mystic Gate. Holy Mantle onto Glen so they can't block. I think we would have been able to get enough damage through to them anyway. But just to make sure, we will swing straight in at our opponent. And it does get the double strike. Well, not always yes. Not that it matters at this point, because I think we've got the victory here. And what is Glen? It's a 16-15 with Pro Creatures, Trample, Hexproof, and Lifelink. And it will have double strike here. And then whenever we hit our opponent, per damage that's dealt, we obviously draw out a bunch of cards as well. So there we are, 23 points of commander. I think our opponent was just about starting to go off there, so we were lucky to get into the mana when we actually did. Obviously would have liked to get into white mana much sooner than that, and I think it would have been a more convincing victory for us if we'd been able to get into some white mana. I probably wouldn't have tutored for the Sol Ring if we had white mana. Probably would have gone in for some kind of white enchantment or something so that we could draw more cards with Glen. Maybe a Spirit Mantle or something like that. but a couple of decent showings there, I think. One from our opponent and one from us. Be sure to let me know if you want to see more from Glenn, and I will see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.